In this video, we're going to take our orthographic projection and print from the layout view. So the layout view is also called the paper space or layout space. And you'll notice these tabs down here at the bottom. Right now we're in model space. This is where we do all our modeling. And usually we'll print from the layout space. So we're going to click on layout 1. So go ahead and click on that tab. And you'll notice that we can see what we have in model space. And it shows you basically a piece of paper and what is shown on that piece of paper. And so it gives you an idea of what's going to be printed out. Before we print, we want to insert our title block. So let's go up to the block panel and click on Insert. We should still have our title block under Recent Blocks, so let's go ahead and click on that and find the one for your inch, so that would be title block A. So we'll click on that, and we're going to manually put our insertion point. We're not going to rotate it. We're not going to explode it yet, so don't click on that one. And we'll just double click on that, and here it goes. So we're going to insert it so that I might have to pan this. We're going to insert it so that the bottom left corner of the title block is kind of close but not on that dotted line. Alright, now I'm going to zoom all and close out my block window. Okay, so let's notice a few things about this layout space. So you have your title block, and your title block size relative to your paper might look different than mine. The printer that I was using when I created the text in the book was different, and you'll notice that the title block in the book is bigger than the dotted line. That's because the printable area for that printer was different than the printable area of the printer that I'm using now. So it really depends on the printer you have. Okay, so don't worry if your title block is different than mine or different than what is shown in the book. It really depends on what printer you have. So this dotted line represents the printable area. And we're going to scale this title block so that it's as close to the dotted line as possible. All right, we will do that later. The next thing to notice is the orthographic projection. See, the orthographic projection is there, but I can't select anything. That's because it's in model space and we're in layout space. So we can't do anything to it. Now there's a way to access model space within layout space, and we'll do that later. The next thing to notice is this little rectangle here. That's the viewport border. So that represents, well, the viewport. It's the port that allows you to view into model space. And that's why we drew that yellow rectangle, because that indicates, you know, where the viewport border is. And you'll see that dark rectangle over the top of the yellow one that we drew. That indicates our paper size. So I wanted you to see that that yellow box that we drew is exactly the same size as the viewport border that AutoCAD created. All right, so if that is 11.5 or 11 by 8.5, but the paper is also 11 by 8.5, well, that's weird. You know, so it's not showing one-to-one scale, obviously, at this point. And we're going to take care of that as well. All right, so those are the different things to notice. And right now we don't even know if this is truly 11 by 8.5 because we haven't set up the paper yet, and we're going to do that as well. All right, so before we go any further, let's make sure our paper size is what we want. We want it to be 11 by 8.5, so let's go ahead and set up our page. So we know we can print and set up our page by clicking on the application button and going to print, and we can either go to plot, but we don't want to print it yet, or we could go to page setup, and that will allow us to set up our page without printing. But when we're in the layout space, we can also go to the layout tab and click on the page setup right here, so we can access that in a quick manner. All right, so we want to set up the page for layout 1, and we can set up different pages for the different layouts, right? We have a layout 2 tab as well. If we want a different page set up for that, we can do that. All right, so we're going to modify the page layout for layout 1. You're going to choose your printer, paper size. It's already set to letter. We're going to plot the layout, and we're going to do a 1-to-1 scale, right? Because we're going to print on a letter size sheet of paper, and whatever you see in the layout is going to print 1-to-1. All right, we're going to now set our pen widths. So when we did the layer tutorial, I said that the layers control line type and it can control pen widths, but I didn't tell you how it controls pen widths. So it controls pen widths based on color. So you're probably wondering, well, why am I choosing these different colors for these different line types? And I did it because AutoCAD assigns pen widths based on color. So we're going to choose up here, plot style table, and we're going to plot out in monochrome, right? We don't want to plot out in color. We want black and white. So even though our pen or our line types are in color, when we plot them out, they'll be black and white. I'm going to choose this plotter icon so that I can edit my pen widths. All right, so I'm going to choose color 1, which is red, and this tells me how it's going to print out. It's going to print out black because it's monochrome, and the pen width is going to be 0.6 because red indicates our visible line, and our visible line needs to be thick. It needs to stand out on our drawing. And these pen widths, I'm not making up, right? They come from the ASME standard. We need to have different pen widths on a drawing. It helps us interpret the drawing. All right, the next one is blue, which represents our hidden lines. So those are going to be kind of medium thick. We'll make those 0.45. And then next we have color 7, which is black. This is the dimension lines and the center lines, and they're thinner. So we'll have 0.3. And we're going to save and close, but you'll notice that if I go back to color 1, those pen widths are saved in there. So I'll save and close, and then go OK. Our paper is set up, and then close.